Welcome to our presentation on Enex, which we will focus on today, especially on the customer segmentation. Our team is composed by Omar Raya, Charlie Chapin, Thomas Gait, Thomas Silva and Joseph Uoy, which we will be proposing our key findings and showing to you our investigation made for the whole analysis. On our agenda, we will be focusing on each of these points and explaining them. First of all, a general context on what Enex is and at which industry is present. The product which we are focusing. Forward on, we will talk about the methodology we followed, the analysis of the data and the variables. Forward on, the results of the clustering, our recommendations to the company and further conclusions on our work. For a general context, Enex is a licensee company of the Shell companies, which is one of the top industries on the world, which has been evaluated as the fifth most largest company based on revenue in 2016. This company has been on the market since 2011. It is one of the main fuel and lubricant distribution company in the country, competing with two other companies, Petrobras and Copec. The competition has been set very high, with price wars and different strategic actions, which affect the whole industry if one competitor acts up. Now, what is the problem that they have been up to? The financial state of Shell has been lowering throughout the years, and some of the indicators of the company have been lowering, in which the one that has a great impact on the industry is the clients leaving. In September of 2017, Shell launches Shell Card Transport, which is a loyalty card that it is focused on companies which in its features it gives discounts, fuel control systems, like a website and a tracking system. Here is the problem that as a group we have been working on for a solution on the churning rates that have been affecting this service that Shell gives. In September of 2017, Shell launches Shell Card Transport, which is a loyalty card that it is focused on companies which in its features it gives discounts, fuel control systems, like a website and a tracking system. Here is the problem that as a group we have been working on for a solution on the churning rates that have been affecting this service that Shell gives. On the side of the methodology, first of all we had to pre-process the data given to us, which was the sales of the card. Specified on it there were different characteristics of the sales as the transactions made by customer, dates, amount of money spent, and others, which helped on how we should use this data on our favor to segmentate and work with solutions on this problem. For this, we used a program called Modeler, which in our investigation was essential for discovering the segments later on described. We had to group the different databases all on a big stream, that way we can analyze them all throughout these years. With different tools and pre-processing work, we cleaned the bases and separated the information from years into quartiles. Now, we looked forward on to analyze some ratios which were important for our investigation, presented here. The ones which we focused on and took advantage was the ones highlighted, which helped on the characterization of the clusters and to analyze them on the later stages. First, we clustered on by analyzing the churning rate and defining it by some of the variables presented before. After that, we added other customer variables, to have them identified and looked forward on to how to act in front of them with actions to solve and increase the retention of clients. For the clustering, we used the Kaimin's algorithm, with 4 clusters to look forward onto them. The clustering method went well, with a silhouette of 0.5, which gives us an indicator on how good was the method for this case. For the results, we identified 4 clusters, shown on the image at the left side. This were processed on by the Kaimin's algorithm. Each one has their own particular characteristics and have their own weight dependent of the variables. 3 of these clusters were utilized on our segmentation, because of the size of them and their own characteristics. We left behind cluster number 2, in which we don't consider the need to analyze. As told before, the quality of the clustering is good, with a silhouette of 0.5, which shows us the pre-processing of the data was well driven. Thus, the quality of the clusters is good for the analysis. Our work goes on identifying the groups present on customers, as by identifying them we can apply different strategies and actions to increase the loyalty on them, to increase the economical benefit of the business. With this done, we can get to our customers which are in need of special services, and as the competition is great on this industry, actions must be taken to increase our position on it. Now, forward on the clustering method, here we present our clusters found. For the first cluster, we named it, the misunderstood. This segment is important in terms of size and how much they spend. Their churning rate is the highest, and present the most quantity of errors within the transactions and services made by Enex. The second cluster, which was not considerable on size as explained before, there will be no further investigation on it. For the third cluster identified, we named them the frequent ones. We identify them and characterize them as small business which use the service more times but not as high in amounts of it as the other clusters present. They are medium loyal, as their churning in comparison with transaction made is acceptable. But, it can always get better to have better economies. The temporality is an issue also presented on this case, in which they spend more in the first and third trimesters. And, for the fourth cluster, we called them, large company clients. The percentage of income represented by this segment is the greatest, with a 63% of the total revenue. Their order of temporality also goes as the industry, with the first and third trimester. The churning rate is the lowest of them all, because of how large companies work with these enterprises. If one of these clients leave, it affects immensely the business numbers, as they are less customers but a bigger percentage of income. They must be retained. With the clusters identified, we can come up with the recommendations for each cluster. After analyzing the industry previously and looking up on what actions to do with the brainstorming activity, we came up with the next recommendations, specified on each cluster with the actions needed for them. For the cluster 1, the focus must be on diminishing the errors and mistakes provoked by the system and the customer. Errors such as missing cards, transaction errors and misunderstanding between both, have to be resolved with survey for the customer, to see why are there errors or what is going on. We know that temporality is an important variable of the high churning rate, so Enex could create a segmentation of prices per season to encourage customers to buy in different months along the year. Also create a segmentation of prices per amount of liters to benefit and promote the big charges. This is very important because clients will feel that they are reducing costs in comparison to other companies that offer the same services that Enex. Next, for cluster 3, we recommend that Enex promote their services adding value to customers and rewarding the loyalty in time. A good action could be to accumulate Enex points with each payment and redeem them once a year with other automotive services that Enex have or access to discount in prices using the Enex points. And for cluster 4, the most important thing with this high-value clients is to hold them by long-term relationships. The first thing Enex should do is to understand this cluster by making different satisfaction surveys, what we should improve, and repeat them over time. Do customers' needs change very quickly? Then, Enex should create the premium client card to reward with different benefits the most valuable clients. With this, is possible to have the client's loyalty. As to concludes, we identified some strengths and weaknesses when working on this job. For the strengths we found out in the course of our investigation, they were essential for the development of it, as if we didn't took advantage from them, our work would have been put in jeopardy. First, we used the churning rate as the main variable to perform the segmentation. This is what the client has asked us. After this, we include other variables like amount, CLP, quantity, LTS, etc. to characterize the different clusters. Second, we based on the RFM, recency, frequency and monetary value, methodology. Our silhouette was very good, giving us a good head start on it and the motivation, effort and desire. For the weaknesses, firstly, we have no information about the current segments used by the company or the industry. In order to get a more adjusted and real fixed K-value for the algorithm on clustering. Secondly, we were not given a budget or possible courses of action of the company with respect to the actions that could be executed with their clients. So our proposals are more based on general courses of actions and the creativity of our team. Which is not a problem, but we can be more precise and give real help on how to retain and the churning rate become lower with real solutions for them. As of the assumptions made first, we use the fixed k-value equals 4 in Chi-Min's method. This, after trying with different values that gave us not significant results. Then, we assume that null values were 0 because the characteristics of the variables made it possible. The last assumption is that customers that did not bought in a period of 30 days are lost customers. This was our presentation. We hope you enjoy it, and if any questions are on your mind, we can respond them through email. Thanks for your attention.